How's everybody doing today? Welcome to Cup of Joe with Joe live. Oh man, yep, cancer awareness. Those of you who are paying attention, we know what this is about. Pay attention, folks. Wear pink because someone you know, someone you love, is at risk. Anyway, so the big things today. Hey, how's everybody out there doing out there? And yeah, we got the things. How you doing, Brandy, Dolores? Love you guys. Love you. Thanks for stopping in. So, big things going on everywhere, everywhere. So we all know KRTD Media is going through some changes. We got Jimmy doing some cool stuff. We got some new people coming up with brand new ideas, new shows, new ideas, new concepts, things that help inform you on what is going on in the world. Now there's a great idea. Someone's coming up with the idea this weekend. Yeah, this weekend. I'll actually be sitting down to coordinate and schedule an interview with somebody to talk about voting. So next week is going to be my big episode on voting. Reason why is because we got so many things going on around now about voting. You know, ranked choice voting. We actually have the technical ability right now in order to do ranked choice voting near real time everywhere in the United States. We can rank choice vote president. 500,000 candidates. We can have 500,000 candidates for president. And with a right ranked choice voting system, we can still have a winner by the next morning. Just saying. Boom, boom, boom. We can make that stuff move. We can make it happen fast. So many good things, going on. So KRTD, we got those things going on. What else have we got? Jimmy, of course, has been doing what? Yeah, for those of you who are paying attention over on Twitch, yes, I jumped over on her show again. Hey, thank you guys. Love you. If you happen to pop on over to Twitch and see my lovely face instead of Jimmy's, yeah. Kind of a deal we're testing out right now. You know, last week was sort of a fluke. Some of you guys liked me for some reason. I don't know why, but here we are. Shows on policy. You know, one of the things that we were talking about over the weekend was the idea that, we don't talk that much about ag policy. You know, a lot of the progressives in America don't talk about agricultural policy. How much money does the United States spend subsidizing agriculture? Your wheat, your canola, your potatoes. How much do we spend on that? How much above market value does the government spend on agriculture in order to maintain the level of agricultural production that we currently conduct globally? It's one thing, growing a little extra food in your backyard. It's another thing when you realize that you as a nation or you as a community are growing enough food for the world, you know, and how much of that is subsidized by the US government? How much of it is subsidized by your taxes that hide the cost of food in America? Because you're not actually paying fair market value. You're paying a market value based on what something can be sold for after the United States government subsidizes and pays for the cost of much of your food. This means an awful lot of agricultural land is left fallow. You know, the food is purchased for storage reasons. We gotta, yeah. Right? Doesn't that suck? Yeah, Jimmy's best time of day. That's people like yours truly, like you, Brandy, work. So here I am cramming. I actually started late today, started 5 minutes late, which means I'm gonna have to finish 5 minutes early. Reason why is because other people are using the system. Yeah, other people are using the system. Yes, they are. So one of the ideas we're working on is the idea of talking ag policy, talking about rural policy, talking about wilderness policy, not just urban policy, not just Black Lives Matter, not just indigenous communities. We're talking about rural, wilderness, talking about communities like that. So Michelle and I and a couple others, we're looking at that. We're actually taking a look at that. We're actually looking at bringing progressive agriculture to KRTD media. Let's talk policy, folks. Let's talk farm policy. Um, and we'll have an opportunity to talk about that from, the progressive perspective, the libertarian perspective, and even what it truly means to be a conservative agriculturalist in America, especially when we want to step back and take a look at what we're doing. Oh, dude, Brandy, already? Really? I mean, we're only 10 minutes into the broadcast, and you had to bring that. Okay. For those of you who were not aware, Idaho, despite being a rather libertarian state, yes, and that's weird for those people who look at Idaho and go, "No, you guys are red as mother, son of a," you know. No, the people of Idaho are not red. Okay, the people of Idaho aren't blue. The people of Idaho are largely, probably more than any other state in the nation, of a libertarian or independent mindset. Literally 60% of our registered voters are registered unaffiliated. And so when you look at Idaho and you go, how is a state like that so red? Well, it's red because we got carpetbaggers here, folks. We got people, hyper conservative people, who moved to Idaho to get into politics. Why is it so easy for carpetbaggers to get into politics in the state of Idaho? Because the people in the state of Idaho don't care about politics. 90% of the people who live in the state of Idaho don't care what's in your pants. They don't care who you kiss. Consenting adults, of course. They don't care what you smoke. Just do what you say you're going to do. Be where you say you're going to be. And take care of the things that are important to you. We don't run for office in the state of Idaho because we expect people to take care of themselves. You do you over there. I'll do me over there. And maybe every so often we can get together at the barbecue and have a good time. That's the majority of the people in Idaho. We live and let live. You do you. Just don't hurt anybody doing you. Easy peasy, right? Unfortunately, some of those conservative carpetbaggers, like the 50% of Republicans that actually hold office in the Idaho legislature, who were actually educated in out of state colleges, moved here to get into politics, and they've decided to make decisions for the rest of us who live in Idaho. Now, for the most part, most of Idaho really doesn't give a flying. you know, the county sheriff's going to enforce what he wants to enforce. County and sheriffs may even enforce some stuff that isn't even on the books to enforce, because county sheriff generally runs things in the state of Idaho. Now, that said, we got nearly 1 million people in the greater Boise metro area. Greater Boise metro area is where the police care what you do, especially if they're police who moved here from Oakland. They're extremely disappointed in the lack of drug busts and drug arrests where they can harass and frame people for drugs. And for some reason, we still have one of the highest rates of drug incarceration in the US. But now, many of these conservative politicians who want to move to Idaho with these conservative police officers have decided that no, we got more things that we want to screw you with. They want to make drag shows illegal. They want to make men pretending to be women for entertainment purposes illegal. Okay. Now, the irony is they actually say this is about protecting the children. Thing is they don't enforce laws that actually protect children. They want to make laws that infringe on freedom of expression, First Amendment rights. They want to tell you how you express yourself. They want to tell you how you identify yourself. They want to tell you what you will wear on a Thursday night in a bar. That's what carpetbaggers in the state of Idaho has decided is important. And never mind the fact that we have a group of religious followers out here where they actually call themselves the followers. We allow them to pray their kids to death while we write laws about whether or not a man can wear a dress on a Saturday night. Yes, but that is the new talk. That is everything that's going on down during election year. Okay, the bill's been written. They fully intend first week of January, once they all get elected, and they will get elected. Why? Because everybody thought the Supreme Court had our back. And nobody ran for office. And the carpetbaggers went unchallenged yet again. Run for office, folks. Run for office. Run for office. Run for office. I don't care whether you're a Republican, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Libertarian, whether you're an Independent, whether you're a Green, whether you're a party of socialism and liberation. You can be a stinking commie. I don't care. Run. Compete. Be part of the machine. If for no other reason than to break it. But as long as these people continue to sit in our state legislatures, we did this. Joe Firestone did this. I've talked about it often. We talk about it on KRTD all the time. Dump the incumbents. Dump the incumbents. But in order to dump the incumbents, people have to run against them. People have to support the people who run against them, so that we don't end up with stupid little bills like making drag shows illegal and wasting everybody's time. and making lawyers rich were violations of the First Amendment's freedom of expression. Speaking of which, Ammon Bundy, Ammon Bundy, Ammon Bundy. This was interesting because Ammon Bundy made his fame, what, about 8 years ago? It's been 8 years since Ammon Bundy's 15 minutes of fame, and he's actually managed to hold on to it fairly well for that. Ammon Bundy was the son of a rancher down in Nevada. He was being harassed by the Bureau of Land Management. It's ironic. Okay, Ammon Bundy, anti-Bureau of Land Management. The man wants to privatize all land currently managed by the United States Department of Interior. And that means our wilderness areas, our lands. And I actually talked some about this last week. Reason was because we were talking mining, brand new cobalt mines so that we can make batteries for electric cars. Yeah. Uh, but yeah. Batteries for electric cars, cobalt mines. The fact that we are actually reopening mines in generally protected wilderness areas of the United States. The United States government owns approximately 60% of the state of Idaho, some 80% of the state of Nevada. Basically, they own these huge tracts of land in most of the area, and the land gets sold off, bought, traded, repurposed, repurchased on a fairly regular basis. And you actually end up with land barons who have successfully managed to buy property around public property so that the public property is now enclosed by private property. And the only way to get access to the public property is via what is the term they call those? God. Basically an access. How you doing, James? How you doing? You're running late, James. Come on. And what are we looking at? 6:24. You're 25 minutes late. 25 minutes. Jeez. Okay, anyway, it's not what I'm talking about. James is waking up in the middle of the night. Um, Talking about the idea of public lands. Now, a friend of mine, if you follow me on Twitter, Chubby Primate, he's actually running for Congress or state senate, I believe, over in District 21. He's running for the seat. He's part of one of the locals who is running to make a change because we're getting a little bit tired of our hard right neighbors deciding they want to tell us what we can and can't do. Oh, geez, James, where are? Sorry, James. Just waking up. We're 11 hours off here. It's 7:24 there. It's 6:24 p.m. here. Yeah. Um, but James, he does an awful lot of activism. He does an awful lot of volunteer work. He actually went out and did something that Idaho's environmentalists and conservationists both. And there's actually a difference. We may even discuss this someday with regards to the idea of rural and urban policy, the difference between an environmentalist and a conservationist, and the fact that both generally don't know enough about what's going on to do the right thing by either. 40 years of environmental policy written in stone has created the environmental mess that the West is, with raging wild wilderness fires so many months out of any given year. Yeah, joy, joy, fun, fun, all that fun stuff. So some of the other things that we got going on. Oh yeah, back to Ammon Bundy. Ammon Bundy, the independent 15-minute of famer from a Bureau of Land Management perspective, was privatize all land, but he actually came out with a ad. They found enough money. They found somebody to produce an ad for him. And in this ad, he's going up against the cathedral. the infamous institution of the United States government, ran by a secret cabal of bureaucrats who control the fate of all humanity. Yeah, it's actually interesting. And, I haven't actually watched it because it's got a lot of graphic stuff. And it's got burning books and burning constitutions and people in red robes and burning crosses and all of the rest of this stuff that says the other people that we don't know are evil and we must fight them with everything we have. Damn the consequences. Yeah. Anyway, um, yeah. Sam and Bundy's still making his bid. We got five candidates. Yes, five candidates running for governor in the state of Idaho. Commies and socialists are coming for you. The commies are coming. The commies are coming. Hide the women and children. Oh, no. That's sorry. Yeah. Yeah, the commies and socialists are coming for you, which is ironic because, dude, you grew up on a ranch that gave you cheap rates for grazing on public lands for 40 years. You benefited. Ammon Bundy benefited heavily from socialism. His entourage has benefited heavily from socialism. Of course, part of the thing is none of them actually want to admit that what they benefited from was socialism. It was just the will of the government controlled market because Keynes was such a brilliant man. Anyway, yeah. Capitalists, the communists are coming for you. And of course, whoops, I dropped it. Capitalists are here to save you from having too much money. Yes, they are. It's all about putting it in their pockets. Um, yeah, McDonald's benefited. They bought property. McDonald's isn't actually a franchise restaurant. It is a real estate management agency. They buy property and then they lease franchise owners the property to build their franchise on. Yes, McDonald's is a landlord. Nothing more, nothing less. Ronald McDonald is a landlord. Nestle steals the water and then turns around and sells it to you. Of course, we've all known that for a long time. James, come on, interesting. No, it is, but they did it successfully. It's one of those things that's actually ironic because McDonald's currently owns probably more land than even Bill Gates, even after talking about how much acreage of farmland Bill Gates bought. I guarantee you there is more land under McDonald's and their parking lots in the US than is owned by any other singular entity outside of the United States Department of Interior. And we, the people, kind of. And Ammon Bundy wants to open up all that public land. He wants to turn it public. He wants to turn it private and actually turn it into industry. Now, this is an interesting topic. Reason why? Because during the eras when mining and forestry were real big in the state of Idaho. Um, we had this issue in the conservationists had set aside land and said you can't do anything with that land until we really need it. And the conservationists won a battle alongside the environmentalists, you know, sort of simultaneously, yet for different reasons. Okay. When the environmentalists won their battle in order to create environmental laws about the way industry is done in the United States, the way it is done in America, it forced an awful lot of the industry that would have used the resources the conservationists thought to conserve for future generations. Yes. And we ended up exploiting 200 other countries in the world, one of which was China. And this comes back to the issue of we're mining cobalt now because China won't sell us their cobalt as cheap as we can pay them to mine it. Now we got to actually make our own. That means cobalt cost is going to go up. Yeah. Now, this comes back into that idea of policy, rural, wilderness, industry, farming, mining, your very, very basic things, agriculture, um, forestry. Hey, hey, hey. How you doing? Hey. Um, you know, because we have an awful lot of public land that has been reserved for public use. That public use includes, open spaces, green spaces, places you can take your shoes off and walk around in the grass, even if the grass does happen to be armpit high. Um, Not suggested you do that simply because it's not manicured out there. And you can get yourself hurt walking through the grass, rattlesnake bite. Um, right? If Germany can't be dependent on Russian oil, then America can't be dependent on anything from foreign countries. Okay, now that's an interesting topic. Reason why is because yes, Germany is currently dependent upon oil because NATO allies, allies of the U.S., OPEC, can't generate the kind of oil we need in order in without Russia in order to make us truly independent on key strategic reserves like oil. And this comes back to the idea of the United States and conservation. The idea of conservation is that we preserve. Now, environmentalists and conservationists, even though they were fighting for the same thing for the different reasons, are both still fighting the same enemy, which is the consumer. Yes, believe it or not. You and I are our own worst enemies because we consume, we consume, we consume. In order to consume, we must create something to consume. We're literally the Ouroboros. We are eating our tail at an incredible rate uh, because we always need the newest. We always need the latest. We always need that advantage that the newest and greatest provides us. Even though, if it wasn't for planned obsolescence, an awful lot of this stuff that we use on a regular basis might actually last longer than 3 years. Like this poor laptop I'm actually talking through with you guys on. Um, you know, it'll last 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. You don't need to run out and buy a brand new one every other year just because it's the latest and greatest. Take a little time, enjoy the things, save your money for other things. So you can take a vacation, take a hiatus, take a sabbatical. How you doing, extra ball? How you doing? Need to get together and talk policy sometime, man. Talk policy. Lots of policy. Ah, yeah. We got Ammon Bundy. He wants to open that up. Now, it's interesting. Reason why is because our current money bags, Little Ranch and Cattle, Governor Little is actually the family. Yep. Mm, yeah. The laptop you built that was created from parts, rare earth minerals mined from 50 different nations, uh, forged, reformed, reassembled in China in Fox Industries by people living in poverty wages, or maybe not, concrete buildings with suicide nets around them so they can't jump off the roof to their death. There's stories about that, fun stories. Yes, we'll avoid some of those stories. The last thing you really want to do is get caught on one of those nets doing those things when somebody actually does try to do what they went up on the roof to do. Uh, yeah. Anyway, so Ammon Bundy in the state of Idaho, he wants to open up all of this. Reason why is because Idaho, the mountains of Idaho, we actually have mountains made out of rare earth minerals here. Yes, we do. All those things that we mine in 50 other countries around the world in order to create those rare earth minerals to make that touchscreen laptop and your Samsung iPhone and all of those things can be mined from the ground in the state of Idaho. Matter of fact, we got thorium in the ground here, so plentiful. We could actually use thorium batteries to run every pacemaker in the world for 1 billion years. Yeah, I'm probably pulling that out of my fourth point of contact reason by yeah. Anyway, um, thorium. Little thorium batteries that got enough nuclear capability that it can actually run a Cadillac for 100 years. Fuel free, oil free. The thorium cat. Look it up, guys. Look it up. Backpack nuke ran Cadillacs that you never have to put gas in. Um, well, this is an interesting argument. Reason why is because blockades. That's what we do when um, we want to punish a country by refusing to trade with them. Yet, U.S. protectionism is what we do when we're not at war and we don't want to give our work and labor to another country to be paid for, so that we can do this sort of informal exchange of value and worth and all of that fun stuff. Um, Electric vehicles, man, electric vehicles, nuclear vehicles, backpack nuke powered vehicles. I want a nuclear powered Hummer, man. Will not lie. But that's the consumer in me speaking. Do I need a nuclear powered Hummer? No, probably not. Um, Said maybe something like a nuclear powered bus, nuclear powered train, high speed nuclear powered train. Can you imagine, man? One side of the US, whoosh. I don't play enough of it actually. Need to get back to playing it. Need to have time to play it. Hard to find time to play out Fallout, man, when you're busy doing activism stuff because legalizing medical marijuana in the state of Idaho, it's a full-time job. By the way, for those of you who are following, yes, Kind Idaho, who I work with, who I do great things for, who does great things for me, is currently able to collect signatures for the 2024 petition We can get medical marijuana on the 2024 ballot and finally legalize medical marijuana for those in need. Patient advocacy, medical choice, medical autonomy. Own your own body, know your own medicine. Legalize it. Legalize life. Your choice in medicine. Do the thing that's best for you, regardless of what the politicians say, because the politicians still want you in prison for. Yeah. Yeah, if you manage to make it to Idaho, James, come on over. We'll vote for medical marijuana. We'll get it. Patient advocacy. If you don't need it, you don't use it. Matter of fact, we know most. No, yeah, absolutely a recreational drug. I mean, truth is, when it comes to recreational drugs, okay, are we really using recreational drugs recreationally? Okay. Alcohol. We're not using it recreation. We're using it to kill pain. We're using it to make ourselves better. Whether you call it an enhancement drug, I'm much more happy on certain drugs than I am on others. Now, that's actually a benefit. That's an enhancement. That is, in a lot of ways, it's socially approved because I'm a better person on certain drugs than others. A lot of people, alcohol is bad for. A lot of people, marijuana is bad. Marijuana is actually bad for me, which is why I don't haven't used it anyway. You don't need to know that. Just know that I know you may or may not need it, and you could have it and be a better person with it for it. Do the thing, man. Do the thing. Um, and I don't know a drug that is more recreational than Viagra. Honest to God, how? I mean, the entire purpose of Viagra is recreational. Don't tell me some guy at 60 years old on Viagra actually wants to have kids again. Okay, you don't want kids at 60. You don't, that's why you had them young. Brewing and drinking recreational, right? Yeah. Um, it is very much so. And this gets back away from the fact that, without comment. Oh, yes, yes. Okay. Uh, but the idea is Idaho, literally everything that we use, use in the stuff we consume, the stuff we have destroyed other nations to consume, um, can be mined from the earth in the western United States. Whether it's from the Badlands, whether it's from the mountains of the state of Idaho, you actually look at our flag, the Great Seal of the state of Idaho. We got mining, we got forestry, we got agriculture. Literally, there isn't anything we can't do here in the state of Idaho except put it on boats and ship it. And actually, there's an argument that we got a port up north that's capable of, managing seaworthy ships. Um, you know, yeah, it's an inland shipping port. Who knew? Um, Planes, trains, and automobiles. Oh shit, brandy. God, Crohn's. Oof, that's a rough one. That's a rough diagnosis, man. Um, but yeah, you absolutely need it. It's one of those that they have not found a pharmaceutical yet capable of matching the effectiveness of medical marijuana for coping with Crohn's disease, and managing it. They haven't. Said, I know some people with Crohn's who are chronic smokers. Mainly some of them, anyway. We won't get into that. We won't get into that. 10 minutes. I got to wrap this up around 15. So Jimmy can come on. Yes. So who else we got here? Who else we got? War Deer. Where'd you go, man? Where'd you go? I know you were there. There you are. Extra bowl. Yeah, extra bowl. Jimmy. Rest of you guys, do some great things. Uh, but yeah, trains, planes, trains, automobiles. We actually shut down most of the trains here in the state. When the conservationists and environmentalists got together and said Idaho's wilderness shall be untouched, all of that rare earth minerals, that is just waste, that was waste ore when we were mining it here in the state of Idaho, mind you. Okay, all of that was waste ore. It was waste because we didn't know what to do with it then when we were mining it. So we literally got these huge piles of molybdenum and the other things that make Gorilla Glass and touch screens. We got tons of that, and it's sitting in the open where it was just dumped because nobody knew what to do with it when we were mining cobalt and gold and silver, and all the rest of those things. Um, who knows, James? Who knows? But yeah, if you ever stop smoking, no, I don't. I don't. It doesn't work that way, James. It does not work that way. Um, no, but all of that land, all of that waste ore, we didn't know what to do with. It's just sort of sitting idle, wasting somewhere on land where it was dumped, and nobody knows what was actually in the ore because we didn't want what was in the waste when we originally mined it. It's just sitting there, huge freaking piles of it just sitting there. Nobody knows what to do with it because they didn't actually figure out what it was when they dug it up and just made it sit there. Yeah, remission is not curable. Um, it's actually a genetic condition that affects the way the gastrointestinal tract works. Um, yeah, James, no shit. Eat on a 3 meals a day. Doesn't have to be big. Just eat. Eat, and your stomach won't eat itself. Funny how that works, man. Uh, so literally, Idaho could be doing all of the mining for all of those rare earth minerals that we currently spend a significant amount of money and resources extorting from other countries. We can actually be employing Americans who live here so that they can work here and don't have to go somewhere else to do the things that we can do to harvest the things here. Except that if we start doing that mining, the mountains of Idaho will go away. The wilderness country of Idaho will go away. The public lands of Idaho will go away as we level mountains in order to harvest these rare earth minerals in quantity enough to satisfy our consumption. We're at that point right now. The Democrats are no longer environmentalists. The Republicans are no longer conservationists. Okay? We no longer have protection of public lands for the common use because we consume, and because we consume, things must be taken from the planet to produce. It doesn't matter, James. It doesn't matter what we annex, who we annex. At the end of the day, they produce so that we can consume. Like a snake eating its tail. That's the global hegemony now. That is the global cultural homogenization. Globally, we are now all consumers. And we consume at a rate that's equitable to what we earn. The money that goes into our pockets leaves even faster than it made it there because we need things that will never serve us. Conservationists, we must conserve and preserve the natural resources for future generations so that they can in turn maintain the greatness we create. Environmentalists, we seek to preserve the lands, to retain our health, not only for ourselves, but for future generations, that they may enjoy the world in which we have lived in. And then the indigenous, we borrow from future lands, the land upon which we live. And then it is imperative that we leave something for the seventh generation that is better than what we were given. So, how do we balance it, folks? That's your homework for the week, folks. Balance your consumption, your environmentalism, your conservationism, and a plan for 7 generations. Remember, folks, family, friends, community. As long as you got those 3, you can make anything happen. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. And may you and yours find satisfaction through mindful choices, intentional actions. Be good to yourself, folks. Love you. See you later.